Some abstract considerations about the setup of a Masonic lodge. It appears to me the Masonic system, and I've said this before, and I'm wondering if it was picked up properly. Um, the Masonic system has to do with perfection, okay, with perfection of with a seemingly pretense, with a pretense of being perfect, in the sense that it's hard to break inside, right? It's hard to it is very, very hard to um, be in the possessions. It's hard to be in the possession of the Masonic secrets without having pledged a Masonic oath, and hence enter the Faustic Pact. Okay, so I guess the main reference on that one is Goethe Faust, and that's I guess the Faustic Pact in itself would guarantee that um, one doesn't have access. So, in a nutshell, one doesn't have access to behind the scenes worlds, as Jean-Paul Sartre calls them. But once the secrets are penetrated, once the ritual is understood properly, line by line, concept by concept, and I guess idea by idea, once the ideology is understood and accepted by people, well, the battle is half won, I guess. Well, not half, actually 3/4. Okay, so we're actually either halfway or 3/4 way into winning the battle once Masonic ideology is understood. And so behind any game, there's the concept of equilibria. A good game, so perfect equilibria. Okay, so I guess so. Open question. Does there exist a perspective? So, under how many possible perspectives, or how, well, yeah, how can we analyze this properly? Under um, the question is, under so is it the case that under a majority of perspectives, the Masonic system per se is in fact, and as a true fact, unbreakable? Is that thing correct? Is that thing true? And why is that the case? Because to me that's not obvious. Well, to me, so when I say that, to me, that's not obvious. Well, that's a supposition of mine, that the system is perfect, right? Um, and the arguments that I have deployed in order to break the system were of a semantic nature. That they were so the arguments were semantic. They were not syntactic. They were not deductive. My arguments were not deductive that much. Okay. That so in my approach, I've used analogy. I've used aesthetics. Things that highly have to do with intuition, I guess. Not so much with facts, premises, and deductions. Okay, so coming back to the question, so is it right? Is it so? Is it 50%, or is it 60%, 75%, 95%, 99.5% right to say that the Masonic system is unbreakable, and by that I mean the secrets, the mysteries, the privileges that the so-called privileges, of course, that a Mason acquires, um, are in fact can only be acquired through the Faustic Pact. Okay, so in other words, how strong, how strong is the Masonic system? Okay, but okay, so in order to analyze these types of questions, I'm going to refer to I'm going to refer to again. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to refer to the game of chess. Okay, and this is how a starting board in the game of chess looks like. Okay, so yeah, I guess so my level is that of a beginner, and in my beginner phase, so I'm not a beginner, I'm not a beginner advanced, I'm a beginner intermediate, I would say. So okay, so I know how all the pieces move. I know how to arrange the pieces. When I start a game, I know how to arrange the pieces, and I know when a piece is under attack, and I know how to attack. I guess. Um, but apart from that, I'm not playing. Okay, so I'm not playing at all. Okay, so that is my level. My level is beginner, and on the beginner phase, I'm actually beginner intermediate, I would say, because I'm not that weak. I'm not that weak. I have a good intuition, but I'm just not playing. And but by all means, I should be playing because, well, chess is highly abstract, and if you so I suspect that if you follow closely, and I really mean closely and deeply, what I have to say on this topic, then you will certainly improve your thinking. You will manage to improve your understanding of the world. And okay, I'll give you a bibliography. Some books that I have on my collection. So Tarach, the game of chess. Well, I think I, but by all means, I have not. I am. I have not studied these books, and I should. I really should. So Tarach, the game of chess. Well, that sounds like an introductory, general kind of treatise on chess. Horowitz, the Golden Treasury of Chess. Bobby Fischer, um, my 60 memorable games. So this sounds like a walkthrough, like a problem walkthrough, I guess. My 60 memorable games. Um, and there exists one title that's really dear to me, the Aaron Nimzovich, My System. Okay, and that introduces the idea of a system in chess, and I really like that. Um, I guess okay. So the smaller like chess for dummies, I guess, type of walkthroughs, like I don't know, logical chess, move by move. The amateur's mind. Well, that could be interesting. The amateur's mind. Winning chess strategies. So can we work towards building a winning strategy? Because we have to win, guys. We have to improve our thinking. We have to improve our understanding of the world, understanding of people, in such a way that in such a way that we become highly adaptable on our environment, and so we become smart. So we have to be smart. We have to see patterns around us. And okay, Kasparov, he wrote a treatise on, so Gary Kasparov, the person that went by the name of, was okay. So the person that was Gary Kasparov, I believe, because he may have been replaced meanwhile. My great predecessor. So he wrote this in several parts, and I think. I think that that's a treatise on the history of chess, I guess. So I guess that's more than enough if you read this properly. If you analyze if you analyze in say if you analyze the references that I give you, if you analyze them in a Proustian fashion, well, that's more than a handful, and that's pretty good. So by that I mean analyze from multiple perspectives. Try to assign really try to assign different meanings, different interpretations to try to introduce Gestalt techniques. So we know how a Gestalt would look like in say. So we know we know, and usually what is referred by what is referred to by the notion of Gestalt. Well, that has two dimensions. Okay, how would the Gestalt look like in 3 dimensions, in 4 dimensions, and so on, in 5 dimensions, and so on and so forth? Okay, that is there anything in the nature of the Gestalt that, well, it should have only 2 dimensions? Okay, or so is it, does the definition of Gestalt exclude more than 2 dimensions? And if it does so, is that synthetic a priori, or can it be proved, in other words, can it be proved deductively? Okay. So that is the chessboard there, and as you can see, there's 16 pieces on each side. But okay, we are going to come back to this. By the way, on my previous chess segment, I received a lot of fan mail. The people are highly enthusiastic about my the interpretation that I just gave to chess pieces, because that's all I done. So well, that leads us, guys, that leads us naturally into strategies, but I guess for highly advanced people, somebody like Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura. Well, I'm not familiar with his games and his styles of play. I'm not familiar with Hikaru's patterns, in other words. But well, somebody like Grandmaster Nakamura, well, he would take it from where I left it very well. Okay, he would understand. He would put A plus B together and understand, and understand things at a very deep level. So I guess I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of helping people in this way, even though I'm not a grandmaster myself. And well, I'm not going to cut corners on that one. I'm not going to. I mean, what is the point? Will I be? What is the argument for cutting corners? Okay, just getting attention. Okay, impressing people. That's the pattern of I don't know, emperor's new clothes. You know that one, emperor's new clothes. Well, the nature of reality. Well, that is delusion, guys. Okay, that is delusion, and I am surprised people still fall for that type of delusion. Okay, um, so I received a lot of fan mail, and as you can see, we have Magnus Carlsen here. Well, I think that's Magnus. I'm not sure who that is actually. Well, yeah, I think it's Magnus Carlsen, and he's Magnus is supposed to be. I think so. I think on this one, I think he's supposed to be a bishop. That's he seems to be a bishop. That is the idea of this particular picture, I guess. And so, okay, so people, I received the reactions were huge on what I said. So I thought I'd follow. I thought that I should follow with a sequel. So, well, personally, I am a theoretician of masonry. I am a theoretician and analyst of Freemasonry. So, and witchcraft in general. But I'm not specialized that much in witchcraft. I could make it a future project of mine. But okay, so technically speaking, I am a theoretician and analyst of the Masonic system. So let's leave it at that. So that's the pentagram, and that's the inverted pentagram. And well, if you look at some so in a Masonic lodge there exists a pentagram. That's how the offices are arranged, I guess. And well, in an inverted fashion, the pentagram is very, very weak. So the emergent property of this system of the pentagram is highly weak on an inverted fashion and highly strong if placed normally. Okay, so that's equilibria again. That's equilibria, but it's kind of stupid. Well, it is not stupid because it makes the system extremely strong extremely strong and hard to break, hard to penetrate on one level, and it also makes it hard to it also makes it very, very easy, very weak, if placed invertedly, in an inverted fashion. Okay, so we have this idea of it's very, very abstract. um, and well, you can see how my arguments and my way of thinking was rather semantic, because I'm using analogy, I'm using pictorial analogies a lot, I'm using aesthetics, I'm using things that have to do with intuition, faith, beliefs, well, together with logic, of course, because you so is it intuition that guides us, and logic that by logic I mean deductions, of course, deductive reasoning. So you can see I'm from a formal school, I guess. I'm a formalist within myself. I think I'm a formalist. um so is it aesthetics that guides us, or is it So is it aesthetics? Is it intuition? Is it the beliefs, the values that we form? Because it's, well, if something is beautiful, well, that's a matter of taste. Well, is it? Is it a matter of taste? Does the beautiful and the does the beautiful and the good coincide? Okay, that's the main theme of that's the main theme of the Portrait of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, I guess. So that does the beautiful and the good coincide? Well, that's not necessarily so, because you can have totemic phenomena. So the portrait, I remember that novel clearly. I guess I remember it quite well. And well, you can have totemic manifestations. There exist totemic manifestations. So a person's corruption can be projected into an object, or a person's corruption can be projected into another person. Okay, so there exist totemic manifestations in the world. Buddhism is a form of totemism. Okay, Christianism is a form of totemism, because guys, we cross ourselves. Okay, I think the only well, one of the few religions that is not totemic, well, that's Judaism in itself. I think Islam is not that much totemic either. Um, but Judaism is not totemic, guys. Um, uh, a person that is very, very strict, a person that is a highly strict Jew, well, the only thing they would worship is ideas. Okay, a Jew, a person that sticks literally to the Jewish faith, well, the only thing they would worship would be the ideas themselves. In other words, what's written. Okay, what is written, the Torah. Okay, that's the only things that the Jews worship. But but in a way, it's not coincidental that I'm talking about all of these things, because I want to instill in yourselves the idea of some basic principles of how to think. So it's not how to think in general, because there's no general recipe for things. But it's how to think about the problem at hand, which is, so what is the problem of hand? I have to well define the problem of hand at hand. The problem at hand is that um, some people, by all means, not all people, but some people, and I would assume it's a minority. Okay, because if it was a majority, then but by the way, minority and majority cannot be expressed in logic. I think you need the existential quantification, or something even stronger for the idea of majority or minority. That is talking about the inverted pentagram, I guess. But okay, but so the problem at hand is the problem is at hand is not so much that so the problem at hand is the fact that some people always act with a bad intention all of the time. Okay, I hope I was clear on this one, but I'll have to be a little bit more specific. So, is the issue why? Well, we can ask And well, deep within myself, I'm inclined to ask, why is this the case? Okay, but maybe I am naive. Okay, so if I'm going to ask why this is the case, then somebody like Father Mark Goring or somebody like Bishop Barron would say, well, Valentin, do you doubt the existence of the devil? And of course, I'm not going to be able to reply to that statement because, well, I don't know enough theology. I, and by all means, I'm not the perfect master of the Greek language, to the classical Greek language, the classical conceptual web of the Greek language. I'm not a master of that. I cannot get into this at this level. So the level of well, Father Goering or, well, Bishop Barron. I cannot have this type of conversation with them. They would beat me easy. That's like me playing. That's like myself right now, uh, in the intermediate phase of being a beginner, playing against somebody like Nimzovich at their best. Maybe I could win. I don't know, like one in 20, 1 in 100. Maybe I'd win a game because Nimzovich wouldn't know how to assess me, like beginner's luck, in other words. But so not being a master of the web of significations that is classical Greek, well, that's a weakness, and I cannot, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with, I don't know, somebody like Bishop Barron, okay, or Dr. Taylor Marshall, okay, or Father Mark Goering. So let's leave that aside. But even though I don't have that, I don't know, Mohammed Salah world class type of expertise in theology, I can tell you, I am able to say something about the problem of evil. Okay, so where does evil come from? Well, we must stop somewhere, guys. Because if we don't stop somewhere on the question of where the evil comes from, we will have to say that the prima causa is the source of evil. And of course, as true Christians and non-heretics, we aren't willing to say that. So then we must stop somewhere in this chain of events. And okay, if you look at this particular picture, this is Heian Shod. Well, it could be Heian Shodan, it could be something else, which isn't Heian Shodan. No, no, no. It's a picture that breaks apart the procedure of Tetsui. Okay, and well, and so the principle in any kata is that the attack always comes right to left again. So the attack always comes from the right side, and the attacker attacks towards the left. That's the first principle, and then the very very first narrative. So okay, have you studied the katas? Do you understand the narratives in the katas? Well, you should understand most of them. At least, okay. So Funakoshi's katas. I'm not talking about artifacts or things that things that are created for aesthetic purposes. I'm not talking artifacts. I'm talking real mystical stuff. So, do you understand Funakoshi's katas? Okay. So let me show you the basics. So the basics, the basic narrative is that the so in the world, the source of all evil is the fact that somebody grabs. Okay, do you grab? Are you a grabber? Do you grab what's not yours? Okay, do you grab what doesn't belong to you? Okay, so it doesn't. So Jesus Christ said famously, if you look at so if you look at a woman and you desire her in your heart, you've already sinned with her. We know that. But okay, suppose you do. Well, you must accept for yourself the pain that comes with sin. Okay, so accept that for yourself, but don't go on further and cause and cause distress on other people, because that's even worse karma, if you know what I'm saying. So the so the meaning of the procedure tetsui, placed in that position of Heian Shodan, it's one of the very very first procedures that one learns in Shotokan karate, and that is tetsui. And the meaning of tetsui is grabbing and how to defend yourself from grabbing. So kind of like so the writer, well, it's something like it's something like humor, because it's the person that invented these katas. Well, he was not a writer, he was not a storyteller, but you could use this perspective. But by all means, if you are to know karate, you are to study karate. Okay, so if you are to know karate well, you are to study the katas well. Okay, and then you are going to understand the symbolism behind it. But suppose Master Jikin Funakoshi was a writer. Well, that's an invitation. Okay, Tetsui is an invitation. He's saying something. It's an introduction over there. He's saying, look, this is the source of all evil. The fact that somebody grabs, guys, don't grab. Ladies, don't grab, and everything will be fine. So it's an invitation right there. The fact that um, the fact that the source of all evil is grabbing, and then okay, study martial arts, because you will understand the problem of evil and you will understand how to defend yourself from evil. Okay, so that's a principle, that's a highly convincing introduction that Funakoshi does over there. So I guess again, it's not random that I said that, because I'm trying to illustrate the kind of patterns that you should employ or deploy, or both, in your type of thinking, analysis, and action. Okay, so I guess I got carried away, and the introduction is much on this particular segment. The introduction is much not much. I guess maybe I could extend it a little bit, and say more about the game of chess. So as you can see, it's white versus black. Each each side has 16 pieces. The pawn is very the pawn is usually a very weak piece, and it's white that moves first, and the white usually moves with a pawn, or it can move with a horse, but usually the first move is with a pawn, I guess. And also the ply to ply tree of the game of chess is not boring as it is in games like Go or checkers. Okay, checkers has been solved. A computer can play perfect checkers, Um, but the plight to plight tree, in other words, the action tree of the game is not boring because it's not symmetrical, guys. It doesn't present symmetry at all. Symmetry is not a desirable effect in chess. Symmetry is not a desirable situation, and symmetry is not an effective heuristic in most cases, I would say. Okay, but I also I told you yesterday. I told you yesterday. I said the bishop. Okay, so the black bishop and the white bishop. Well, the bishop in itself is about psychology. That's what looking at somebody with the corner of the eye means. That is psychology. That these are elements that apply to human emotions, I guess. And this in itself is psychology. And there exist, as in most things these days, there exist two schools in psychology: the Russian school and the American school. The Russians tend to classify things like memory, attention, perception, cognition, whereas the Americans take a holistic approach. So the Russian approach. I'm not an expert. I've got myself an interesting manual, and I remember how we've done psychology in high school, and well, that was following the Russian school, coincidentally, and it has to do with taxonomy and classification. Okay, that is the in my opinion, maybe I'm talking about things that I don't know and I'm not an expert in, but in my opinion, the Russian school has to do with taxonomy and classification, whereas in psychology, the American school has to do with uh, taking a more holistic approach. And I mean, there's dangers and shortcomings to both methods. The shortcoming of the shortcoming of the holistic approach is, well, that things will break apart from inside. Okay, uh, and we get into an attitude of tolerance. Okay, we get into so following a holistic approach in psychology, well, we eventually get into an attitude of overall tolerance and benevolence, and things will break apart from the parts. Okay, so that is the shortcoming of the holistic approach, whereas the shortcoming of the reductionist approach is that, well, things break apart at the top. Okay, people go on with their lives, and people will often see, well, in places like Russia or Romania or places like that, people will see other people being aggressed in the street, and they will be passive. Okay, people would be passive to the things that they would see, to the wrong things that they would see around them with their own eyes. Okay, so that is the shortcoming of the reductionist approach in psychology, I guess. Um, okay, so much about the bishop. Um, the horse. Okay, the horse. So I call it a horse. It's a knight, actually. Well, we have I don't know, 18th century, 19th century literature. Alexandre Dumas, The Three Musketeers, Victor Hugo, um, Marcel Drouin, I think is the name of the guy who wrote the Cursed Kings. Well, that's interesting literature on the nature of a knight. Okay, Um, open question. I pose this open question to you: is Cardinal Richelieu the in the Three Musketeers? So is that a knight or or a bishop? Okay. That does he have knight nature or bishop nature? In case he has bishop nature, well, it's a bishop against all of these knights, and so does that is that the punchline of the novel? Is that what makes the novel interesting? That okay, there's three knights and a single bishop, and well, they can't nail him that easy. So you have to remember, we're not talking about rock paper scissors here. This is not Tom, Jerry, and Spike. It's this is much more complex. Okay, this is the we're not talking about noughts and crosses, x's and zeros. This is by far more abstract, more complex, and more involved. And well, I guess that's why it trains thinking so well. That's why chess trains thinking so well. So I guess that's all I had to say on this one. Apart from the fact that okay, so we've covered rooks, that is towers. We've covered that in the previous segment, and we've covered the nature of the queen. So remember, the rook is the ritual, the temple, the ritual, the ideology itself, and the the queen bears both rook and bishop nature. Okay, so these two natures carry into the queen. And I guess in the vein, so I've assigned to you, I've assigned to the black bishop well, not to you by all means. I've assigned to the black bishop the ideology presented by Sun Tzu in The Art of War. I guess in the same vein we can consider medieval Enlightenment literature such as Machiavelli, Niccolo Machiavelli. I think it's called The Prince. And I guess Machiavelli's thought and Machiavelli's work in general. So we can talk Dante. I think Dr. Taylor Marshall speaks about Dante, and well, that's in a segment, and maybe in several of his segments. I think Dr. Taylor Marshall touches on Dante seriously, but that's more like ideology. That's more. I mean, we can assign that to that's a hybrid. I think Dante's Inferno would be an interesting hybrid between the rook and the bishop, right? And that's not chess anymore, guys. And okay, so that isn't chess anymore. When well, guess we can invent hybrids. One can invent games. So take the work of say Robert Goldblatt in category theory. So if we think about Topoi by Robert Goldblatt, which is by all means it's a good summarization of category theory and most of the areas in pure mathematics. I would say Robert Goldblatt's Topoi is a masterpiece. So take that work and then think about the idea of hybrids between pieces. So I've just made a claim. I've made a conjecture. I've posed a conjecture to you, and the conjecture was, um, that if I am to take a hybrid, uh, if I am to take a hybrid between the bishop and the rook, well, that would be somewhere in the ballpark of Dante, I guess. And well, that may not be chess yet. Hybrids are interesting. We like games. Okay, the more games, by all means, the more I'm a formalist, of course. The more games we play, the more interesting the world we live in looks like. We don't want to live in a dull world. But okay. Um, um, One interesting thing is that look, just look over there on the chessboard, and you will see that the white queen has the white king, to its right. So and the white queen, the white queen lies on the left of the white king, whereas the reality of of the black pieces is inverted. Okay, so and another heuristic. So I said apply psychology, apply elements from psychology. Well, applied psychology. Okay, so I guess you could apply meta psychology when you play chess. Well, chess is not psychological. Okay, chess is combinatorial. Chess is you have to act. Well, you are to act in a set amount of time on in a standard game, but well, one cannot one one cannot I guess intimidate their opponent, and everything is visible, so that there's no element of bluffing in chess, right? Chess is not about bluffing. We cannot, by all means, there's no hybrid. Don't think about hybrids between don't think about hybrids between poker and chess, because that's abnormal, guys. Okay, so if you're going if you're going to cheat in a worse type of way in a casino, you will get killed. Okay, so that would get you killed in Las Vegas. Okay. Yet, so you can apply meta psychology because, well, there exists the psychology. Well, it's not a psychology; it's a profile. Okay, it's a psychological profile. There exists a psychology for an ideologue, a philosopher. Okay, a philosopher has a psychology of its own. It's not the psychology of philosophy. I'm not sure if that exists, but it's the psychology of the researcher, of the man of ideas, the knight, the people that engage in war, people that engage in strategic reasoning, very often. 'Cause I wouldn't call the state of war. Okay, so violence is okay. So violence is actually a byproduct of war, but to me, war is strategy, and so is strategy and chivalry. Okay, that's what war is all about. So a knight, that there exists the psychology of a knight, and we have, I mean, if we are to analyze Alexandre Dumas or Marcel Drouin or Victor Hugo, these type of writers, well, I mean, we are able to map paragraphs or remarks or perspectives. Well, we are able to map them into psychology, into psychological. We are able to map fiction, and okay, so in a piece of fiction, we have this technology these days that we are able to map um, paragraphs in a work of fiction or dialogues into elements from psychology. Okay, and okay, the one writer which came much later than Alexander Dumas, and one writer that's dear to me. Well, that comes from the from Henri Bergson's school, from the Bergsonian school, and that is Marcel Proust. Okay, so we it's not that much of an open question, but well, which piece would you map Marcel Proust into? Is that a hybrid, or is that a piece? And well, I think that's the king, guys. I think Marcel Proust gets to Marcel Proust gets to a level of depth, analysis, and granularity that paralyzes action, and that may be the king. Okay, that in itself, that is a king, I think. Can well, are we able to map poets? Well, poetry. So when I ask myself this question, so take Baudelaire, or take so my two favorite examples, as you know, my two favorite examples in poetry is Baudelaire and Edgar Allan Poe. And well, when I try to map their work, where would I map Edgar Allan Poe? Where would I map Charles Baudelaire? Well, that's an open question, and I'm tempted to offer $5. Uh, I'm tempted to offer $5 for this open question, but then I realized, well, I am a poet. I was always a poet. I like poetry better than I like prose. Yet I don't know enough about poetry in order to map any particular poet. Choose a poet. Are you able to map any poet of your choice to into a chess piece? Okay, so it's questions like that we should care about the most. This is the type of thinking that we should deploy when dealing with witchcraft, when dealing with Freemasonry. Because guys, it's a system. It's unbreakable. So all we after a point, all we can do is guess. Everything comes as a surprise. That there's levels. Okay, there's Mariology in this. All we can do is guess. I mean, we know it's a bad thing, but it's important. It's important for the future generation to keep on learning about this sort of stuff. Okay, we can never stop learning about these things because we must guide the future generations, and in order to guide the future generations properly, this type of conceptual thinking, conceptual web, should be applied, I believe. One last remark, because well, as I said, I'm a beginner, and in particular, I'm a beginner intermediate in the game of chess. I wanted to make this last remark. Well, I find it useful when playing chess, when moving. So suppose of course, so start holistically. So I mean, Magnus Carlsen knows this, and Hikaru Nakamura knows this. First you look at the board, and then you think, well, what if I move this piece, right? So you first get this is standard, and in a way I think this is how it should be done. Or at least a hybrid of this approach should be done. So when engaging in chess, so when developing your thinking, when developing your patterns properly, what you do is first you look holistically. So you apply holism first, and then you go like, well, what if I move this pawn? What if I move this knight? What if I move this rook? And what you do, so is so when I say that first you analyze a board holistically, well, you understand what I mean. It's you analyze the type, you analyze your past experience, what you learned so far. So you analyze what you know so far, how you think so far, what you have learned, what is it, what is it that's new that you can learn. Okay, and that's holism. And another aspect of holism is the interrelationship on the board. So the complex context, it's, in a word, it's a bird's eye view. Okay, it's an external view. And then imagine, that's just like Lewis Carroll, it's like somebody, like a person telling people how to move on a chessboard. Okay, so when you perceive when you look at the board, when you look at the board from a holistic perspective, from a global perspective, well, that's when you are the person that tells uh, the person that tells people how to move on the board. But then when when you move, you have to analyze the other perspective too, and that's being a piece on the board. So I'll have to think like, okay, so I'm a bishop right now. Okay, and I'm a bishop. What do I do? Okay, and then you apply psychology, and you understand the nature of the piece. Okay, so you understand what a bishop is, and I've told you yesterday what a bishop is. I've told you today what a knight is, and where to look for it. I said yesterday that a bishop is the black bishop in particular can be found in Sun Tzu's Art of War. I said that a black rook can be found in any witchcraft ritual, and a white rook can be found in any holy book, holy scripture. So when you play chess, so by all means, guys, play chess. Chess is a perennial game. Chess trains the mind. Even when you lose at chess, it's an excellent way of developing the mind. Okay, and it comes it is the excellent way of learning new ways of thinking. I cannot stress this enough. I mean, I've phrased and paraphrased this statement many times in this particular segment. But okay, uh, when playing chess, please, well, it's up to you really. But when playing chess, apply this hybrid technique: holistic versus reductionistic. Holism versus reductionism. So first you are the person that looks from outside, and then you are the piece itself. Okay, and then I build profiles, and understand what sort of pieces you're up against. Okay, right, thanks.